So this is a little supplement, not really an update, to a video that I had done a few months ago about a meeting that the Latin Kings have been holding over in Wicker Park. Now, when I'm saying Wicker Park, there's a neighborhood Wicker Park, and then there's an actual park that's called Wicker Park, and they were in the park. And I had been talking to you guys in that video about how this is an extremely gentrified, like hip area now, and how just having a gang meeting in this neighborhood just doesn't match one bit whatsoever. So I'm going to talk a little bit about like how this kind of thing came about in this neighborhood, and the future of the Latin Kings in this area. For anybody that's living in this area, I think I have some people on the channel that have hit me up about living in this area and stuff that they've seen, and gang activity in the area, which really is it's really out of place here, man. And this is part of like how gangbanging in Chicago really is a culture. As you can see in this video, I walked around two particular areas. One is the actual Wicker Park, okay, that I'm walking around, and then after I show you guys this is where they had the meeting, the Latin Kings. I'm just trying to give you a visual of the area, and then I'm going to walk through the Latin Kings neighborhood, which is over by Damon and Crystal, just a few blocks away from here. It's literally like walking distance right up the street. So, and you're going to see their neighborhood over there. So you can see this neighborhood, man, like very hip and upscale. And this is one of those areas of Chicago on like the near north side where if you had a building maybe 40, 50 years ago, I mean, it was basically like winning the lottery. I used to work with a Guatemalan guy over at I think he was Guatemalan. This is like about 15 years ago. And one of his relatives had bought a building like in this area, and I forget the exact price he said he paid for it, but it was like 20,000, something like that. Well, now it's worth multiple millions of dollars. I mean, the appreciation on the buildings in this area was like just through the roof. And in Chicago, this is kind of like an urban planning sociology lesson for some of you kids. The stuff is not hard to predict, okay, because the proximity to transportation into downtown is like the key factor. Okay, you got the L right here, the blue line, and then just the proximity to the downtown area itself. The whole near north side used to be like a hood back in the day. It was like Bucktown, Wicker Park. These were all like heavy gang banging areas for Latin Kings, all type of gangs, and you could see it start to change. See, here's the thing, man. Like there was kind of like a race war that went on, and I'm not going to go into all that in this video, but just to touch on a little bit of Chicago history, it was like the Latinos, the whites, and the blacks were kind of competing for control of these various neighborhoods. Okay, I talked about this in my video on Lord Gino and his case update. That's a few videos back on the channel if you guys want to check that out. But that was going on around here. Okay, and what eventually ended up happening was that the whites for a while were trying to like not all of them were trying to resist it, but some of them were trying to resist it. They were forming like these alliances of white gangs, but a lot of them they started accepting Latino members, and then eventually they started accepting black members. There had always been some white gangs that had accepted black members, but over time that started happening more and more. And then what eventually ended up happening was the identity of those gangs changed, and they were no longer white gangs. Now they're really considered Latino gangs. But the Latin Kings was actually started basically for like Latino civil rights. Like a lot of these gangs, the Stones, same thing. It was like really supposed to be a civil rights organization. A lot of stuff turned to the left. You know what I'm saying? So, but you still have the remnants of these gangs in this neighborhood. So I'm showing you guys right, and you guys can see how sweet this area is, man. And I mean, I'm telling you, every single time I'm not saying this to like flex on the Latin Kings. If you're a Latin King, I'm not saying this to say you guys ain't outside or whatever. But I'm just saying I've been down Damon like all time of day or night, in the middle of the night, in the middle of the day, in the early morning, all times of day or night down by Damon and Crystal. And it's like the only people I ever see outside are like, you know, people that appear pretty wealthy walking their dogs, getting coffee, like that's it. So, I mean, to the Kings in this area, man, it's time to hang it up, bro. Because this ain't the hood no more. Like, this is like a sweet area, and it just, and for, for people that are still gangbanging in the hood, what allowed this neighborhood to become like this to get all this investment and all these jobs and all this money and all this opportunity, they had security. I mean, people had to feel safe on some level. You know what I'm saying? So, like the way that some of these gang wars were going, um, a lot of them basically ended. And like once people feel safe, security is like one of the main issues here for businesses. So, yeah, this is just a little update, just a supplement because I've been talking in that video about how like a lot of people from outside the city and stuff have been moving in around here, and I just want to give you guys a visual for how this neighborhood has changed. But the up and coming areas that where I see this happening now in Chicago, the far north side, like the North Pole area, uptown, that used to be a hood. I mean, it still kind of is, but that's changing, and I see the same thing happening over there. And then over on the east side in South Shore. Okay, typically the way these things go, as far as like demographic shifts, you'll have the area will be like all black. Then Latinos will start to move in. Then the whites will start to move in after the Latinos. Okay, that's typically how it goes. And then after the whites move in, then like urban professional blacks, you know, that are just like basically on the same thing as the whites, the same economic type of time as the whites, they come in, and then the area becomes kind of mixed and integrated. That's how things typically go in Chicago. So I see that happening up over on the east side and South Shore, and history is kind of going in circles. It's also happening in West Inglewood. A lot of Mexicans are buying up those bandos over there, and also on the near west side, west of downtown. So for all the hot areas, for anybody that's looking into, getting into real estate or whatever you're looking into getting into, those are where I see the hottest areas right now. You guys let me know what you think in the comment section, man. But yeah, this place just ain't. I can't believe this is even a gangbanging zone anymore. Like, there's no way. I don't even know who they'd be beefing with. Like, there's literally nobody to beef with around here, man. So yeah, it's time to hang it up if you're gangbanging around here or anywhere, but especially around here. It's your boy Chicago News. I'm out.